Especially when everybody's talking at you and you don't hear a word they're saying. Have you noticed that happens once in a while? Yeah, okay. So, transdimensional, across dimensions. Well, how does it work? First of all, the first question I always get, astral travel, can you take your body with you? No. No, you can't. You can take your astral body with you, but not your organic, which is what you mean when you say, can I take my body with me? You mean your organic body. No. That's why it's not called organic travel. It's called astral travel. Hey! So, you can't. But transdimensional travel, yes, you can take your organic body with you. Yes, you can. Promise. Promise. In fact, I don't just promise. It's a threat. Okay. There's no other way to do it. And so you're going to take whatever body. If you don't have an organic body, then you won't take it with you. But if you do have one at this moment, at this time, you're operating with an organic body, you currently have one, you will take your organic body with you as you cross dimensions. Now, there are two ways to cross dimensional barriers. One is to the side and the other way is up or down. Up or down involves a Jacob's Ladder scale approach. Now that is an approach where you have exactly the same place, only on a larger or smaller scale. That's just a shrink or expand. Now what difference does it make which scale you're on? Anyway, what difference does it make? It doesn't make any difference as long as you're in the elevator, what floor it's on. But when you leave the elevator, it makes a hell of a difference which floor you're on. So when you get up to the top floor, you can leave the elevator, but you can't leave the building. Unless there's a helicopter port. Oh, stop it. So, yeah, I hear you. So you have to go back down to floor 1, or to the mezzanine, or the lobby, or whatever they call it, and then you can leave the building and walk around, and so forth. Now, you learn that lesson in Second Life to some degree, but it's not really there. They don't enforce it. You can go out the top of some buildings, so it's kind of an unfair lesson in a way, because they're teaching you can do things that you really can't do. So, a lot of the Roman buildings you can just lift out or go in the tops, like they're open. Even though they don't look like they're open, they are open. The Egyptian buildings are not typically like that. Although there's openings, you can't go through the roof. You can go through the roof in a lot of the other ones. They're phantom roofs. Why did they do that? Because people are stupid. I'm lazy, careless, inattentive. I don't know. Who cares? Anyway, so we have I started a list, and I'm kind of trying to keep it organized for you, because somebody's going to say, can we organize this? So I will already organize it for you, and then you can have it. It's already organized. So I'm just going through from L1 through L10. And I'm usually just going to go through the A worlds, although I will sometimes look at B and C, maybe down into D, possibly, which is a way of delving, which we'll talk about a lot. If you take my Blue Line Academy courses, you would be very, very highly committed to do this. It takes a lot to do it. You got to be here to do that. I don't think you can do it. I don't know. Maybe you can do it at home. Who knows? If you think you can and Claude agrees, I'll let you try. But I don't think you can. I think it takes really hands-on learning skills. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. But in terms of building, crafting a world, there's so much subtlety to it. Things like, gee, I'd like to put a tree in there. Yeah, I'd like to also, but the tree won't support an Android. It'll make you move like a snail. You really want the tree in here at the expense of moving like a snail? Oh, no, I guess not. Okay, so then what do you want to do? So you have to start redesigning nature so it looks natural, but at the same time, you can't put in the things that make it look natural automatically, like trees and bushes and lumpy ground and stuff like that. It can't be in there. Not in the Android, it can't. Oh, excuse me. It can be in any handheld device if there's enough money behind the game. Give me a few $100,000, not millions. They take millions to do it. Give me a couple of $100,000, and I'll show you a video game that you will not believe, because I'll be able to do the things that I can't do now. Why? Because we don't do those things. We don't handle things like iPhone native commands, things like that. We don't do that. Eventually, 5-6 years down the line, that will happen. It'll be there. You want to wait? Fine with me. So, how do you accomplish transdimensional shift? How do you actually move around from one dimension to another? Consciously, deliberately, intentionally, how do you do it? First of all, what I say is don't just move into. All right? You need to have some clue as to what you're moving into. Now, what I'm showing is the next dimension. The next dimension these are dimensions that can be reached from here, but are not necessarily easy to reach from here. I will also publish the next door dimensions. Dimensions next door. The dimensions next door are dimensions that are easily reachable from here through very easy triggers, such as orb triggers, things like that. Those are things that you might be interested in because, for instance, one of them, there is no Donald Trump as a president. You don't ever hear of President Trump. So there is, if you want to go there, I don't say it's better. Oh, there is a dimension where there is no war in Afghanistan. Interested? Do you know why there's no war in Afghanistan? See, you got to stop and ask yourself these questions. Well, why is there no war in Afghanistan? I would like to go there. That sounds great. Or there's no Middle Eastern war. Okay, why is there no Middle Eastern war? Because it's all irradiated soil at this point. It's all glowing green at night. Okay, now I understand. No Middle Eastern problem. Yes, and no Middle East. Or here's a dimension, a world, in which Pakistan and India are not at odds with each other, not at war, not in conflict with each other. Why? In one, there's no India. In the other one, there's no Pakistan. That's why. Yeah. Yes. If you would like to learn German as a first language, there are a number of dimensions in which Germany did not lose the war, in which Hitler did not make those fatal mistakes because he died, and the German High Command salvaged the war, turned it around, and won without Hitler in power. As long as Hitler was in power. Anyone that Hitler stays in power, they lose. He himself caused his own defeat. Every single time, it's what he causes his own defeat. Because he thinks he's the greatest general who ever lived. And in his mind, he is. There's a number of alternate universes where, for instance, there is no rock and roll. Rock and roll never happened. Classical music is the only music that's allowed in the United States. They don't allow country, they don't allow folk, they don't allow anything but classical music. That's all they allow in this one particular realm. You want to go there? Sounds awfully nice, right? It's very dreamy. Dream on. Because it's a slave race population and a vassal system, serf and vassal system. So it's not pleasant. It's highly restrictive in every way, including personal movement around anywhere. You can't just go out and pick up and go anywhere except to town, to the market. You have to be indoors by evening, by dark. No one's allowed out after curfew. Curfew is imposed throughout the land. So if you're caught out after dark, it's assumed that you're a robber or a thief or killer or something like that. So you're summarily executed right on the spot. No trial. What trial? That costs the state money. Who wants to spend money on a bunch of criminals? The view there is that the criminals they eat money. They eat up budget. Yes, there are a few innocent people caught in that machine and unfairly, unjustly accused and unjustly executed and so forth. But, again, that doesn't cost the state any extra money to have that happen. Yes, there's a certain amount of grief, personal grief, family grief, maybe even cultural grief if something should happen to somebody who's culturally important, but it still doesn't cost actual cash out of pocket for those trials, see? So the whole court system is dispensed with. Summary execution is the only answer they have for anything that's out of that's out of line. You stole a loaf of bread, bang, and they don't even have guns. They didn't know that's right. They threw away their knives, slashed their way through a mountain of flesh. So there are a number of very interesting worlds out there. Now, some of these worlds, some of the parallel dimensions that are used as triggers, you can't actually enter without changing. You have to change into what form you have in that world. You have a form in every world available to you. It's your form. It's only yours. Whether you occupy it or not is up to you. You can switch anywhere you want to, from here to there to there to there. So using these triggers, essentially what you do is you have to have a chamber for this purpose. You can't have anything else. It can't be that you sit at home and do this in a casual manner, because it doesn't work like that. So don't worry. You're not going to have this happen. Translation won't happen to you accidentally. It has to be something you have to do really deliberately. Now, the translation chamber is what you would call a UFO. There are circular translation chambers that have drives of various kinds and survival mechanisms within it. Now, those carry either explorers or criminals. You see, because criminals are set adrift in some societies, some ancient cultures. They're too humane to put them to death, and they're too humane to lock them up. They want to give them some freedom, so they turn them loose. They just put them in a trans-dimensional craft and send them to another dimension where there's somebody else's problem. I don't think that's the greatest ethics in the world myself, but that they view that, they regard that as very high ethics. Yeah, but then they shit all over us. Hey, but it's not all over us. Oh, okay, fine. I understand. So, but the trans spaceships are not transdimensional. They are just trans-space. So they enable you to do things like travel around local star systems, that kind of thing. But if you're going to travel dimensionally, it almost doesn't matter what you use as long as you use an enclosed space. It has to be completely enclosed, has to have what's called a hermetic seal. It's a hermetic chamber. Hermetic chamber is also a chamber that relates to Hermes. They call him thrice greatest Herpes. No, it's Hermes, isn't it? And boy, if he'd heard me say that, oh, yeah. Hey, cut it out with my name. Hey, sound on your mom. Sound on my mother, huh? All right, Herpes. Or should I call you Saint Herpes? Eh? Yeah. You can't get wise with these people. These guys, higher beings, they're so touchy. You know what I mean? So, like I was saying to Her Majesty the other day, I said, I hate name droppers. She agreed with me. It's just terrible. So, I have a little device in the ashram that sort of gives you an idea of what this is. That's the galaxy. You walk in and you take an elevator to another place, another floor, and so forth. And the elevator sort of just transports you there. It's like, it's not exactly a teleport. It's not exactly an elevator. It's a televator. So, and it's a fun thing. But it gives you some idea. You're standing there and these lights go flash, 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 flash. And then there you are. I mean, come on. How transparent is that? It's like a scene in a Charlie Chan film, where the light in the back of the elevator goes like this, you know what I mean? Like, ba-bum, 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 oh, now we're at floor number 5. Oh, bullshit. You didn't move a single centimeter. Get out of here. So, you go into a chamber. Now, the chamber is very specific. I do have to have my space benders in the chamber. And I have to have 4 space benders, it turns out. I have to have 4 space benders working for me in there. 1 on each wall. North wall, south wall, east wall, west wall. Oh, space bender is a crested gecko that is in a very special what's called a red light environment. And with that red light is, they don't see in that range. And when you enter the chamber, you carry out certain instructions, and you do this in a combination of real space and cyberspace. So-called real space. What you call real space. What people in cyberspace call cyberspace, and their space to them is real. Everybody has their own subjective view of what's going on here. So you go into the chamber, into the transport chamber. Up to 10 individuals can be accommodated in the chamber that I propose to build. How much is it going to cost to build it? I haven't even asked that question. Who's going to put up the money for it? I haven't even asked that question yet. All I'm going to do is start building it, and hopefully somebody will come along, or several folks will come along and help me out there. You go into it, and you walk out in a different dimension. You walk in one dimension, you walk out of the chamber into a different dimension. Does it look the same? It always looks the same. Do you know why it looks the same? It's called supplantation. Supplanting is, we talked about this at breakfast a little bit. I'll share it with you, some of it. So the act of supplanting is replacing one thing with another thing to such an extent that the memory of the first thing, which is now gone, is completely gone. One example of that is where you overwrite something with something else. Do you want to replace this file? Yes, I do. And then you want to delete the file you replaced? Yes, I do. Do you know what I'm saying? Have you ever seen that on your computer? Right? Delete and replace with such. Delete this file and replace it with this file. Yes? Yes. Okay, I'll do that. There we go. I did that. I executed that. All right, now you want to remember that first, well, you don't have it. It's not there anymore to help you remember. It's not there. You have a vestigial memory of that thing you just blitzed out, but you don't have an actual memory of it. Just a vestigial memory. No matter how good that memory is, it's vestigial. Because actual memory would have the thing right there in front of you. That's actual memory. Vestigial memory is what you remember from that actual memory. What lodges, what remains. About 90% of the actual image, if you capture an image for your vestigial memory, from actual memory, you look at this image, and then you close your eyes, and then you remember that image. Recreate that image in your mind. You will get 10% right. Okay? That doesn't matter. I mean, it won't help. It won't harm you. It won't hurt you. It won't help you either. No big deal. It's a fact. Just a little thing, part of something that happens. Now, when you go into the transdimensional chamber, and as I said, we can accommodate up to 10 in the Trans D. You get an actual physical translation from one dimension to another. And you can do it as an individual or as a group as well. There are in next dimensions, next near dimensions, there are in the tens of thousands to choose from. So you're not, I mean, that's the closest ones. Ones that are hard to reach or far out and can't be reached, for instance, there's a lot that can't be reached from here. You just can't get there from here without hopping there. You've got to hop, and then another hop, another 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 star hops to get there. That may be. Which is not that big a deal. It just is time consuming. That can take several days or several weeks to accomplish. One of the things that doesn't happen easily is a second star hop or a second jaunt. It's called a jaunt. A second translation, Trans-D translation. Once a week you can probably manage a conscious translation for a couple, 3 times, maybe. If you train yourself, you could do a translation every day. You could do translations all day long. But you have to train yourself to do it so your body can take that kind of impact. It's like training yourself gymnastically for... Oh, people think I was ridiculous about this. I was talking about, if you want me to... Some people were asking me if I would do a survival training course. Of course I'm happy to do that. But you have to train for the course. You don't train on the course. You don't train at the course. You train for the course. Because I don't want to have you not able to make the hike per day that I demand of you. And that I myself do. I don't ask you to do anything I can't do. But I train for, when I go on a hike, a trail hike, I train for it. I train my body to my muscles, but I also train my body to eat the food I'll be eating on the trail. Because I'll be peeing and pooping on the trail, won't I? So I need to have good, clean passage of food through my body. I've got to know that that food is being handled by the enzymes in the body, so I've got to prepare it for the shock. Because it's different from the food I eat every day now. When I eat on the trail, it's different. And I'm eating on the trail, which means my stresses are different. Get it? I hope. So the same thing is true when you... Why would it be any less when you're traveling interdimensionally? Transdimensional travel requires training. Simple enough. Now, when you get to certain places where magic is actually an everyday event, where magic is taken for granted, everybody levitates. If you don't know how to keep your balance, you will levitate, but you will not be able to keep your balance. And you'll fall over. And if you keep toppling over like that, people will think you're sick. Or that you've just arrived from Earth and you're another schmuck who hasn't practiced. So, Now, there's buttons and triggers and transport mechanisms of all kinds. And those things are all echoed in the ashram. The ashram has lots and lots of triggers in it that will help you to translate from one dimension to another. Transdimensional travel is possible in the ashram through the ashram. It is localized travel. Don't be disappointed. You're not going to be ending up in the land of Alibaba and the 7 thieves, or 40 thieves? I don't know, 39 thieves? I can't remember. I think it's 39 thieves, because the 4th thief was anti-divine, and he is always cool. He is always friendly. So, the translations that are with the organic body are those things that are done in a very, very conscious way and in a very organized way. And so they're not likely, they will not happen to you accidentally. Don't call me in the middle of the night, say, I translated. I'm going to say, I doubt it. You may have had a shift of some kind, might have been, but it'll be very personal. You check around over here with... now, this is the thing. You've got that yardstick traveling with you, so you measure, by which you measure all things. Well, the yardstick measures everything that's in the universe of that yardstick, and it's still a yardstick. But if you take that yardstick to the other dimension that you just came from, it's no longer a yardstick. It's something else. It's not even necessarily a ruler of some kind. Who knows what it is in that other dimension? It has a corresponding in this one, but you have a supplantation. What has happened is that all of your reality, all your reality structure, all your memories, all your thoughts, all your, the basic credentials of the universe, the basic axiomatic truths that you take to be self-evident, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is erased and replaced by a whole new set which looks at everything in equivalencies. It's all equivalent value. So now you're seeing with equivalent value, so you're still a human being, still a biped, but biped now means something totally different. You're 5-fingered, which means something totally different from what you meant it to mean last time you used the phrase in the other reality and so forth. Sometimes you enter into a state, a personal state, an exalted state sometimes not, but mostly exalted state of some kind, sometimes a psychoactive state, sometimes an induced state, sometimes a state that comes about through shock, or sometimes through a therapeutic kind of catharsis, sometimes just through personal endeavors. And there you are, in some sort of bizarre state, some sort of weird thing, weird world. And in that world, you know very well that when you get back to your ordinary world, that world will seem like a dream. But right there, in that world, the one you live in every day is equally a dream. Just a dream. A fantasy. It's not real. But when you get inside it, it is. See? Now that's important to understand. Within the dream, inside the dream is real. And it's the only dream you've ever dreamt. There is no other dream. There's no other reality but the one you're in right now. How can you compare two realities? There are ways of doing it to train yourself to do that. You can use vestigial memory to train yourself to go across from one reality to the next and still retain the memory of having done so and having what the other, and realizing, remembering what the previous world was like. Now, there's some places where you can't do that because the disparate natures of the two worlds is so far apart, it would confuse and just disorient you hopelessly. So in those cases, I recommend that you just go ahead and relinquish, let go of the previous reality. So, but you don't have to. You don't have to. You can hold on to it all you like. until you decide. It's okay. There's no hurry, no rush. Nobody's standing back in a big line waiting for you to complete your turn. It doesn't work like that. Nobody's dependent upon you to complete your turn that you take, in the game. So the game that, goes ever on, game of life. Many a joker's come and gone. Many a hand's been lost and won. And yet the house takes back its own. Still the house takes back its own. You know that, right? I don't mean that's a song, but it's real too. It's true. Of course the house takes back its own. Look, when you're in the water and you get out of the water, what happens to the hole you were just making with your body? That displacement with water is what happens. And the same thing happens when you translate from one universe to the next. There is a displacement that happens. Your entire reality is displaced with a new reality. One for one, one for one, one on one. Every single point is replaced by an equivalency point. So it looks totally normal to you. But from the other perspective, the other reality, it would look bizarre. Maybe not even readable. I mean, I'm sure you've seen things like this where you end up with a program that you can't actually break into. The code's not there, or whatever it is, or there's no way to read it. So you get those kind of jagged kind of streaks, sort of thing. Maybe that's what happens. You get jagged streaks. If you try to impose one upon the other, or you try to view this reality with the viewer from the other reality. It's set, well, it's the same viewer, but it's set for two different things. So when you go into Second Life, you're using a viewer that's a browser. It's actually all it is a browser, but it's tuned to Second Life in a particular way. It's tuned to it. It's efficiently handling Second Life manifestations, passing Second Life information. You couldn't do that with another. Well, some browsers, yes, but not your ordinary browser. It won't work like that. It won't. You can't see Second Life with. You have to enter Second Life with their approved browser, basically. And that's kind of like what it is. It's the browser you're looking through rather than the thing you're looking at that makes the difference, I guess. Kind of like that. It's sort of the emerald glasses in the Emerald City. It's all green because you're wearing green glasses, It's sort of like that. The filter is what creates the evident reality, the apparent reality. Now, so there are different outcomes depending upon which reality you end up in or you work in and so forth, and which ones you're like to stream in. So there's streaming realities, and we can talk about how these work. We are going to talk about how these things work, and we're going to actually explore it. We're also going to look at baskets, tisket, tasket, yellow baskets. And I had some ideas there for you.